So here we are, cooking with Laine. Just kidding, I don't cook, but I do make hinges look like new. I don't know about you, but I'm a visual learner. So we posted the photo of the hinge from coated with several layers of paint all the way through the process to looking like new. And then I gave you the step-by-step instructions, but I've still gotten so many questions about the process. And so we thought we'd do this video showing you each step of the process to show you how easy it really is. It seems deceptively easy in the written instructions. Like everybody keeps saying to me, it must be harder than this. It must be more complex. It's really, really not. So I wanted to show it to you and walk you through step by step of the process so you can do this with your hinges or hardware at home. The things you're gonna need are pretty basic. And one of the things I love about this process is that all of the things that you need for this process are environmentally friendly. There's no caustic chemicals. None of these chemicals are gonna hurt you and none of them are gonna hurt the environment. So let's look at what we need first. One crock pot that we never plan to use to cook another meal for any people ever again. We need some white distilled vinegar. We need boiled linseed oil. Now, this is one of the questions that I didn't know to expect that is almost the most worrisome. People kept asking me how to boil the linseed oil. You don't buy linseed oil and then try to boil it. You have to buy boiled linseed oil. If you try to boil linseed oil, you're gonna cause a huge fire. So boiled linseed oil and some SOS scrubbing pads. The rest of what you need are just items that you're gonna find in your kitchen. You're gonna need some old work towels. Don't use your good towels because you're gonna be really sad when they're ruined when this is over. You need a couple of Tupperware containers, one that's gonna hold ice water and one that's gonna hold your boiled linseed oil. And then you need an old pot, once again, an old pot you're never gonna cook with ever again, for your boiled vinegar. The worst part of this whole process is the way that this smells. If we had smell-o-vision, you would already be done. This is so stinky. We have the windows open, so it's not really bad. You're gonna need a pair of tongs, and you might need a scaler. Honestly though, I think with this method, we're probably not gonna need one. Several people have asked me why I use this method instead of using paint stripper. First of all, it is a very time-consuming process. You have to strip it, clean it, then let it soak, strip it, clean it, let it soak, strip it, clean it, and it goes on and on and on. Then you have all of that paint stripper that you have to dispose of, and you have to deal with those caustic chemicals, which I don't know if you're like me, but every time I go to use the paint stripper, I end up with chemical burns all over myself, no matter how careful I am. So for me, this is my much preferred method. It's a much safer method, and it's much more environmentally friendly method. So we'll get started. So I've had these hinges in this crock pot on high for about 5 hours. So they've been stewing in their own juices for quite some time. So I'm gonna take them out. You'll see the paint is already sort of like popping off. And I'm gonna drop them in the cold water. Take them out of the hot, drop them into the cold. This does a couple of things. It helps the paint pop right off, and it makes it where we can handle it. So now you have your cooked hinge. It looks exactly the same as it did when I put it in the pot, right? But when I start to try to pull off this paint, it's coming right off. Look at that. You could not budge this paint. You couldn't have budged it with a Mack truck before I stuck it in that crock pot. And now it's literally it's popping off. I'm barely applying any pressure at all. So I'm gonna take a couple minutes and I'm gonna scrape this little dude clean, as clean as I can get it with this, and then we're gonna come back and you're gonna see what it looks like after its crock pot bath. So that's about how your hinge is going to turn out just after your, if it's a highly decorative hinge. Now, if you're doing just a flat hinge or a flat face plate of a doorknob or door handle, you're gonna end up with a really, really clean piece right out of the crock pot. But these are so highly decorative that it's almost impossible to get all of the little details completely clean just straight out of the crock pot. Our friend, Mr. Vinegar, is about to work some magic on this dude. So our next step is we take our relatively clean and lovely hinge. We're gonna put it in a pan of boiling vinegar. You wanna bring the vinegar to a boil. You want it super hot. And we're gonna let it sit there for 5 minutes. Okay, so our next step, the beauty step. Take it out of its vinegar. And this is the elbow grease, getting ready to go. I like these SOS pads that have these steel wool pads that actually have some detergent in them. I think that helps break up any remaining paint. Get a hold of it with your cloth and scrub. You can already start to see those details really popping to the surface. I don't know if I'll ever get to where I'm not fascinated by this transformation. Now that all of our lead paint and harmful chemicals are out, I'm going to give it a little water bath. And we're going to take our dry cloth and we're going to buff it. You want to really get any dampness out of the hinge itself. Make sure you bend it every which way. Get that water out. But there it is. From paint covered to rust covered to a beautiful nickel plated door hinge in like, I don't know, 10 minutes of hard work. Okay, so we've put it in vinegar, we've boiled it, we've buffed it, and now we're gonna dip it in our linseed oil. And yes, it's that much of a process with the linseed oil. And then I like to put mine on a cookie sheet. So we're gonna drop it here on the cookie sheet, and we're gonna allow this linseed oil to run off naturally. You don't wanna wipe it, you don't wanna sponge it, you're gonna let it just sit on there and just run off onto that cookie sheet naturally. It's gonna need to sit for about 2 days. It's gonna look sticky, it's gonna look weird. You're gonna think, I need to wipe this down, what's going on? You don't, you just let it sit on there and cure. Depending upon the humidity in your area, it could take 2 days, it could take 4 days, but in the end, you're gonna be left with a hinge that looks like this one. So at the end of your cure period, you're gonna end up with a beautiful hinge that looks like this. Like a brand new hinge, except it's weighty, it's quality, it's craftsmanship that you cannot get in 2020. I don't know that we could pay to have these hinges made, and if we did pay to have them made, I can't fathom what they would cost. And this whole process, counting if I have to go and buy a $10 crock pot at the Goodwill to cook my hinges in, these hinges are gonna cost me about $1 a piece, probably, to completely refinish, maybe less than that, and some elbow grease. And you've saved a beautiful piece of history. So we're gonna go from this to this with nothing but some natural products and a little bit of elbow grease. And that has been Cooking with Laine. That's probably the only thing you will ever see me cook in this kitchen. So I hope you guys got something out of that. I hope that helped you visualize the process a little bit, and I hope it encouraged you to go wrench those antique pieces of hardware off your doors and off your windows and throw them in a crock pot, see what happens. Bye.